Hi, I'm Steve. I'm the bassist from Lipstick.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer from Lipstick.
And we're in Greg's car. Gonna go actually see. Greg's dragging me to see Kiss, some band he likes, I think.
Yeah,
Play.
I have this weird sense of deja vu when I went to go see this band called the Smashing Pumpkins with you. Just like this weird sense of like equivalency and the world being in balance.
Ah, yes. Much like when we saw Billy Corgan lip syncing, we will go see Paul Stanley do the same.
Well, hey, look, Billy Corgan doesn't need to lip sync to sound bad. No, that was a great show. So we never really talked about that show on the podcast, but that was a phenomenal show and one of the best concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah, if you have a time machine and you missed the Shiny and Oh So Bright tour, get in your time machine and go back watch Shiny and Oh So Bright.
They have it on YouTube. They have the full concerts on YouTube.
Okay, because yeah, it's basically the same
it was
experience.
a phenomenal show. Freaking him doing Space Oddity was one of the most glam things I've ever seen in my entire life. That was so freaking glam, but like great stage show, phenomenal set choice. You know, For Martha, clearly the best song on Adore, being played live was definitely a highlight.
Just like 3 hours of stoking Billy Corgan's ego.
Yeah, but
There were a lot of photos of him on stage.
There were, but you know what? It was a really fun show, and it was interesting to see the Smashing Pumpkins play for nostalgia.
Yep.
Because from what I've heard from Pumpkins fans, the last couple of tours, they're just kind of playing whatever they wanted, which was, you know, stuff from the newer albums, and not really playing to the MTV crowd. So them doing, you know, hits from their biggest albums and doing a ton of them.
Yep.
You know, for a new Pumpkins fan coming into it, I think that's kind of the show I preferred. Just because I want to experience those songs at least once, but they did a good balance of like bringing in, you know, doing For Martha live.
Yeah.
Where I think, you know, playing to the crowd, but also like playing to the diehards too. I mean, Blew Away was part of the set.
Yeah.
So
I think there's also something to be said for, like, I think even a lot of the old fans, like, especially with a reunion tour where it's, you know, it's the Jameses back in the band, weren't gonna be super excited about a bunch of the new stuff. But like, oh, cool, they made James Iha learn United States. That was a good use of our limited time on this earth.
yeah, so but it was a great show. I had a lot of fun, and we're gonna see if Steve has fun seeing Paul Stanley lip sync and the rest of the band play live,
Right.
including Paul Stanley on guitar. So really, you're just we talked a little bit about this, but we talked about how when we went to go see Andrew WK, he was playing with tracks.
Yep.
And how I wasn't super into the show. And I want you to tell me what you were telling me. Tell the listeners what you were telling me.
Right. So I have seen Andrew WK both with full band and with tracks, and honestly, I kind of enjoyed his track shows a little bit more, partially because I think he works a little harder when it's just him and the one other guy doing backup vocals, and the one other guy doing backup vocals brings a lot of charisma, whereas when it was a full band, it seemed like everyone was a little more focused on just playing the parts right, and like he's touring with part of his live band right now is Amanda Lepre, who I saw doing an acoustic metal set once, and
Yeah, she's great.
was just blown away. I loved her acoustic metal set, and she brought a ton of energy and charisma to it. And like playing with Andrew WK, she's just not pushing herself as hard, which was a bit of a disappointment. But one of my general takes with what tracks means when you play live is I'm all about being honest with your audience and respecting their intelligence, and part of that means if an instrument is on stage, there should be a person playing it and not an iPod. So if you've got, so how that works pretty well with Andrew WK playing with tracks, because it's just two dudes and microphones and an electric keyboard, and all of the guitars and the drums and the bass are clearly pre-recorded because nobody has those on stage. There's a couple of keyboard tracks that are also pre-recorded, which is kind of a bummer. But
So basically, it's Andrew WK did the exact same thing. He wasn't playing his keyboards live, man.
I mean, he played some of his keyboards live.
Yeah, I was telling Steve earlier I wasn't as into that show, but that was probably because I was just sorry, I'm just
Just in a bad mood.
Yeah, well, speaking of bad mood, freaking this truck driver was just someone wrote Trump on the back of his truck. By the way, we're in case you're wondering why we're driving to Louisville to see Kiss. So taking a little road trip.
Because somebody was all like, "Oh, the day that Kiss is playing in Nashville is my anniversary, and I want my wife to not divorce me."
Yeah, so that's why we're gonna go see Kiss in Louisville because, you know, as said on previous podcasts, I feel like getting laid at some point in my life, and ditching my wife to go see Kiss on our anniversary is one of the worst decisions I could make as a human. Like, aside from straight up like murdering someone, like it's a very terrible choice. Guys, do not go see Kiss on your wedding anniversary and ditch your wife for it. I would highly advise against it.
You're really only allowed to see Kiss on your anniversary if A, she's coming with you, or B, she bought you the tickets.
Right.
If she says, no, it's fine, go ahead and go see Kiss, she's lying.
But, you know, there is it's nice to get to, you know, spend some time with my best pal Steve,
Woo.
take a little road trip. Finally got an excuse to switch the CDs out of the car. So, Steve, do you want to tell the listeners what CDs we have here, what music options you have?
Well, we've got a couple of upcoming episodes in the form of Smashing Pumpkins' Machina, and we've also got a Heavenly CD that I loaned Greg. And basically, Greg picked out CDs from his collections that he's pretty sure that I won't hate. Although he still has Carnival of Souls in here.
That's not for the road trip. That one's just for my own personal enjoyment. I don't know. Let's open up the cases. Let's tell the listeners what your options are.
Okay.
Other than my sunglasses.
We've got the Billy Morrison The Sunset Strip CD, which has been in here for some time. That's one he didn't swap out.
It's a good one.
Motley Crue, looks like self-titled.
Yes, the John Corabi album. I was telling you about that earlier.
The Doors, also self-titled.
So, you know, some solid, some self-titled selections.
Spinal Tap, also self-titled.
Right.
Loudness, Thunder in the East. The Wolf is the Andrew WK album we have in here. The Tons de Vampire soundtrack.
Yes, for those who aren't familiar with that, that's Jim Steinman's musical about vampires in German. Paid $40 for it, same price as Speedball Jam, and also paid $40 for my Crash Diet imports from Sweden. So the Vinnie Vincent Speedball Jam CD is the only $40 CD I paid domestic for $40.
Got Kiss MTV Unplugged.
Yeah, I know there's the rule, like, you don't want to listen to the band when you're on the way to see the band. But I'm like, you know what, that's really good, and it's acoustic, so I'm like, it's different enough.
Sex Machine Guns Made in USA.
Oh yeah, I brought more Japanese metal. Steve wanted to bring his Duran Gray CD, and I told him he could, and he asked if I liked it. I'm like, well, truthfully, no, I don't like that band.
I mean, no, I grabbed it and you're like, ugh, fine. Warrant's Dog Eat Dog.
Their best album. Billy Morris is not on it, but I mean, look, it's better than the one he did with them. Love you, Billy.
Alice Cooper's Along Came a Spider.
It's an underrated album in the catalog, say I. Underrated.
I mean,
I thought about bringing The Last Temptation. I'm like, you know what? I don't like it as much.
Right, and I have a copy of that. I like that one a lot. Let's see, we got Union, self-titled. Lots of self-titled, Greg.
Man, I was going through the collection, like, oh, this one Steve might enjoy. It's the sequel to Carnival of Souls and Motley Crue 94, but without Paul Stanley making it awkward.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Looks like 25th anniversary soundtrack.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that just the regular soundtrack? Or?
Yes, just the regular soundtrack.
Okay.
But it's the 25th anniversary, so you buy it.
Ooh. All of these CDs are upside down from my vantage point. That's why I'm reading them so slowly. Bonnie Tyler's Secret Dreams and Forbidden Fire.
Steinman songs.
Right. Rush's Vapor Trails.
Rush, I mean, come on.
Yep. Switchblade Scarlet.
Oh, that's Corey's old band, which
Yeah.
I'm executive producer on because I gave them some cash. So in the same way that I am executive producer for the Steves.
Right. I'm trying to remember if I have that one from when they stayed with us.
Well, no, that was New Disease was the band he was in when he was staying with you. We're staying with us because I was
Yeah.
living with you at the time. So,
I think I got 2 CDs from them.
yeah, New Disease. I don't think they had the
No, I think
Scarlet
I think it was Spider's solo EP.
Right. So yeah, that's a Spider. I think he's on that album. Yeah, he's on that album. So they're an old band where Spider wasn't the singer.
Meatloaf couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, so it's not one of his best non-Steinman albums. I'd say actually his best non-Steinman album.
I'm trying to remember what's on here. I know some of the songs. Couldn't have said it better's good. Man of Steel's good.
Basically, you know how you like Blind as a Bat?
Yes.
That dude wrote most of that album.
Nice. And The Kinks, a soap opera.
Oh yes, remember how I really like the weird like Kiss rock opera that most fans think is terrible? That's the Kinks version of it.
Huzzah! It's a soap opera.
Yeah, so we listened to Spinal Tap thus far and Andrew WK. What do you think you're going to listen to next?
Oh, I don't know. Something grabbed at random.
That's fair. So, any other comments before we stop this recording? Because we're going to record on the way back. But any other thoughts? Anything you're looking forward to tonight?
Pyrotechnics.
Lots of explosions.
Right. So this is a genre of music that I don't generally go to see, like the sort of 80s arena rock kind of thing. So I'm aware of pyrotechnics as being a pretty cool thing, but just the genres of music that I listen to, even when bands are at the arena level, they don't have a lot of cool explosions. So I'm really hoping that Kiss makes up for some lost ground here.
Yeah, because this will be, what, your first Cool Explosions show?
Yeah, I think so.
Maiden didn't really do pyro.
Yeah, Maiden didn't do pyro. Probably the biggest production shows that I've seen were Roger Waters doing The Wall,
Right.
which was a lot of great production, but that was all light show.
Right. And
And-
you've seen Alice Cooper.
I've seen Alice Cooper, although that wasn't that big of a production show. There was a lot of stuff going on, but it was, fairly low-cost props.
Right.
Like, not the sort of thing where you need specially trained crew and insurance.
So this will be your, big visual spectacle show.
Yeah. Although the Smashing Pumpkins' Shiny No So Bright was also
That was
Also-
surprisingly. I don't want to say surprisingly because it sounds like I wasn't expecting much from them, but I wasn't expecting that big of a production from the Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Because the way I interpreted them is a sort of like a raw and gritty band with like heartfelt songwriting. Is how I always interpreted them, where they might like have a cool stage prop, but I never considered them to be very theatrical. Which, is that kind of an accurate assessment of the way the band used to be?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think ever since they got big, they've always been a little bit theatrical. Like, even they weren't super theatrical when they were small, but I think that's just because they didn't have the budget.
Right, so once they had the budget, they were always awesome.
I think so.
I missed out. Damn it. Well, grunge bands were still staring at their shoes, right? I wasn't wrong about that, right?
A lot of them, yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel like less of an asshole now.
Although grunge bands were also big on, like... So, I think...
Moving while staring at your shoes.
Right, so that's the
Unlike a
trick.
shoegaze band where they just stare at their shoes and don't move, at least the grunge band is like bouncing while looking at their shoes.
I think that's the trick, is like, the whole alt-rock thing is like, they didn't do the big arenas, pyrotechnics thing, but they did lots of human production in terms
Right.
of, like, lots of jumping off stage, lots of trying to get the audience actively involved in the show.
Which I appreciate. Like, for me, my biggest grievance with a live show, the word isn't like a very intentionally like theatrical production where like you are playing a character and therefore not supposed to engage in the audience, or you are like, there's certain situations, hashtag not all, but when like the band does not engage with the audience at all,
Yeah.
in general, I found that to be a cardinal sin of music, where it's insulting for me as an audience member. But
Right.
I'm going to be interested to see what you think about this. You've heard many of Kiss fans say, "Oh, they're so great live. They're so great live. I saw them live, and then I became a huge fan." And you have the advantage of pretty much knowing every song in the set. As far as post-Psycho Circus songs in the set,
They're not playing a lot of those?
there's one, and it might be cut from the show by the time we get to it.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, so here we go. Here's my thing. I love Hide Your Heart, and I heard they cut it from the set, and that was like one of the main reasons I bought tickets. So if Hide Your Heart isn't played, Kiss, I am going to be disappointed. And I know I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but damn it, I wanted Hide Your Heart in makeup. Any songs you're rooting for, Steve? I mean, you're a Kiss expert at this point,
right?
Other than the entirety of Carnival of Souls.
Crazy Nights, man.
Oh man,
I'm not going to anticipate them doing as good of a version of Black Diamonds. I suspect they'll probably play it though.
Yes. So you're rooting for Crazy Nights and Black Diamond. I am rooting for Hide Your Heart. I guess I should put a second one in there. You know what? Fuck it. Under the Rose from The Elder. Go big, Greg. Alright, well, we're gonna pause the recording, and then, listeners, you'll hear us talking about the show afterwards.
Later. Addendum.
Alright, so we're back. There's more to talk about. We haven't seen Kiss yet, but I wanted to tell everyone what I'm missing tonight to go see Kiss.
Neptune the Mystic, playing in Nashville.
I am missing Neptune the Mystic, but you know what else I'm missing, dude? I'm missing my book club to go see Kiss.
Oh, and it was book club tonight? I thought that was only once a month.
No, it's every Tuesday.
Oh.
So I am missing book club in order to go see Kiss, like a nerd. Like a nerd.
You could be talking about the Silmarillion on the internet.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Silmarillion with you to get my book club fix.
I got about a quarter of the way through it in high school before I gave up.
Alright, so here is the trick. The Silmarillion is a mixed bag of a book, and man, it's just like, are you a big lore guy?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think you know that I'm not much of a lore guy, more like a character-centric person.
I like world building.
You like world building. I like characters that I actually care about. And so the problem with the Silmarillion is Middle-earth isn't that interesting of a world. I think it is me being spoiled growing up with fantasy post Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Where
everybody took their favorite parts of Middle-earth and were like, oh shoot, I gotta add more fantastical elements so I'm not just ripping off Tolkien.
In the same way that you have listened to other bands do what Kiss was doing. Like, you listen to the early Kiss albums, like, I've heard other bands do the same thing, but better.
Right.
That is how I am with a lot of Tolkienian fantasy, at least in the world-building sense. I think the characters are still very strong, so I think Bilbo Baggins, great character.
Right. Goes on some great adventures.
Yeah, goes on some great adventures. The Hobbit is a great book. It's fun, it's charming, it's a nice breezy read. The Lord of the Rings, strong themes throughout, great cast. The duality of the characters is very fascinating. And the thing with the Silmarillion is, like, so much of it is just naming a bunch of characters that I know are not important.
It's very dry.
It's very dry, but like, and this person begat this person, and then they went and they formed different tribes in different parts of the world. And then those tribes split off and formed these different tribes. And I'm like, I don't care. But, you know, I want to say some good things about it. I liked how the main antagonist is just a lead guitar player. So that was pretty great. Do you remember the world myth of the creation myth of the Silmarillion?
A little bit. I remember, like, I flipped open to page 1 and started reading and was like, this is Genesis. I've read this before.
Yeah, so Creator God creates a bunch of angelic beings, and before there is physical existence, there is harmonic existence.
Jam session.
Yeah, it's through music. And they're all supposed to play their individual part for the service of the overall musical piece. And then one of the angelic spirits is like, man, I want to show off how awesome my part is and be louder than everyone else. And you know what? I'm going to write my own part because it's way cooler than what this guy wrote for me. And like, oh, he's a lead guitarist.
Just starts shredding.
Yeah. And I like how the book talks about how he's not very good at what he wrote. Now it's like not very memorable and repetitive. And I'm like, oh, he is a guitarist. So next time you read the Silmarillion, kids, Melkor is just Vinnie Vincent. And Yeah, but I think the trick with the book is that it'll go back and forth between listing off a bunch of locations and like family trees I don't care about, and then there'll be like a good story for a chapter, and it'll alternate back and forth between that.
Yep.
And so the frustrating thing is like when they get to the story parts, like, oh, this was really interesting. I'm glad I read it, but I'm also sifting through all this boring crap. So it's honestly, I haven't been this mixed on a book I've read in a while, where I'm leaning barely on the positive side, just like barely. I'm about like 60% of the way through it. Glad I'm reading it. Glad I've gotten as far as I did, but mixed bag. So we'll see if Kiss tonight is better than the Silmarillion. I'm gonna guess yes. Because even with like Not Hide Your Heart, you know, don't want to jinx it, but even with Not Hide Your Heart and Paul Stanley lip-synced vocals, overall I think it'll be a better experience than the Silmarillion. But we're gonna find out.
So what you're saying is that the bad guy from the Silmarillion, Melkor or whatever, should have lip-synced.
Yeah, you know, just play the part right. Instead of trying to write your own bad part. Like, that's my favorite part, is how like they threw shade at him. Just like not being very good. Like I think just like as a songwriter who has fought with guitarists, it gave me such a sense of satisfaction. Like, you know what, Tolkien was probably in a band, or whatever the equivalent of bands were back then.
I mean, that does kind of sound like a history is written by the winners kind of thing, though, right? Like, of course the guy who got kicked out of the band sounded like garbage. Yeah, but, you know, also history fan fiction is written by the winners, so is it really just like the Silmarillion just is fan fiction about his old band? I don't know.
And how he was right about everything, and how his guitar player was a jerk and wouldn't just play the part he wrote for him?
That's always an interesting thing to consider, is like the idea that the author who wrote a book might not be an entirely reliable narrator. Like, is there stuff about their world that, like, how accurate is Word of God, and how much of it is just like they didn't really think through some things and they probably should have written it a different way?
Yeah, I think, you know, unreliable narrator is a really great trope in fiction because of that.
Yeah.
Where if the author misses something, they can just blame it on the character being unreliable.
Right. Well, so that's one of the things I really like about Lovecraftian mythos fiction is I'm personally of the belief that everything ever written in the Lovecraftian mythos is canon. No matter who wrote it, no matter what they wrote about, it is all canon. It all happened.
What about that myth that they wrote where like everything in the Lovecraftian mythos got undone and never existed?
That is also canon. Just the thing is, everybody writing in the Lovecraftian mythos canon is an unreliable narrator. You can't trust any of what anybody's written because everybody is crazy and cannot comprehend the full scope of existence.
So my Lovecraftian canon, Cthulhu, gets one shot by Goku.
Sure, that is what you as a narrator observed. It's probably not actually true, but you know, it's what you observed.
Look, Goku defeated Cthulhu so we can live in peace, Steve. Show some respect. So yeah, for
Goku died for your sins a bunch of times.
A couple of times. So yeah, for you nerds who are really just thinking, you know what? I love them talking about Kiss, but I wish they talked more about Tolkien, anime, and freaking Cthulhu. Here's the segment for you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Click.
We have time to kill, so we're making Greg try to solve some brain teasers and logic puzzles.
Yeah, because while we were off mic, we just started talking about what the cheating wives logic, cheating husband logic puzzle, and the
Blue Eyes logic puzzle.
Oh yeah, real quick. Shout out for the book club, Resonant Arc Book Club, if you want to join that. As I was talking and throwing shade about the book we're reading, which is good overall. Love you, Mike.
All right,
Love
Greg.
you, Jason. Okay, so what's the logic puzzle?
There's a dead man in the middle of a field. Nothing is around him, and there are no footprints of any sort.
It's a dead man in the middle of a field. Nothing around him, no footprints.
There is an unopened package next to him. How did he die? Hint, as he approached the field, he knew he was going to die.
Alright, so...
I don't know the answer. I haven't clicked that button yet.
Okay, so let's try solving this together, because you're more the math guy than myself, Steve. We talked about how I was using lawyer logic,
Right?
to not solve to solve words. Okay, so dead man in the middle of a field.
Uh-huh.
There's a package. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
We don't know
I mean-
what's in the box.
Presumably not his head.
All right, so I assume the box is what killed him. Dead man in the middle of the field knew he was going to die. Wait, so there's no footprints, not even his own footprints?
Oh, I think I got it.
All right, what is it?
Is it oh, maybe not. I was thinking a coffin. The unopened package is his coffin. But I guess if he was you wouldn't approach your own burial plot when you know you're gonna die.
Right.
Usually get
Like,
brought there
What
afterwards.
is he doing out there? So, like, he walked there.
Well,
knowing
decomposing right now.
Right. All right. But so he walked there knowing he was going to die. So, like me,
He
I
approached the field knowing he was going to
approached
die.
the field knowing he was going to die.
These are less math logic and more just lateral thinking puzzles, I think.
See, I'm thinking about this in terms of like narrative structure. So, like, is it like a guy who's like, in a shootout and, knew he was going to die, but like, walked back to the field, from his youth, to die in a place of peace? Or like, are you familiar with the Tale of Cú Chulainn?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but refresh my memory
Alright,
for
so
our
like
listeners.
the OG berserker in Irish mythology, where he was just the dude who had like crazy battle rage and just like, when I fight, I just kill everything around me because I'm a madman. Rah! And so basically, he was a dude who was really good at fighting. So I thought he was rad because he was really good at fighting.
Right.
And when he died in the myth, he received a fatal wound from one of his adversaries.
As one does.
And so he asked one of his friends to tie him up to a boulder so that he could die standing up like a man. So I'm viewing this through the eyes of Cú Chulainn, where like this guy had some dramatic reason for choosing that as his place of death. Or like, got stung by a scorpion and was trying to like deliver a package before it's too late. Deliver the antidote to the T virus before the zombies destroy everyone. Hashtag stop umbrella. So I'm thinking about it from a narrative sense, which I know is the wrong way to do it.
Right.
All we have is the dude, he's dead in a box. We don't even know what the box is made out of.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm
We
sure
don't
the
know
word
where the field is. We don't know the climate.
I'm sure the word package is meant to be very misleading.
Right. So see, it says he has a package.
An unopened package next to him.
An unopened package next to him. And it said this is a man that is dead in the middle of a field.
Yes. I don't know how important his gender is. Probably not. Probably just the generic person man.
Right.
Who came up with person man?
But it's specific. I don't know. But it's specific that he's dead.
Yes. Dead man in the middle of a field. The unopened package could possibly be a car. He rolled his car. He knew he was going to die because his car was rolling over. And then it came to a stop, closed up with him still in it. No footprints because it's only tire tracks.
Unopened package. So his car is the package?
They could be.
It makes sense. It's probably that. I can't think of what else it would be.
Or it could be a water canteen. Like he was making his way towards some water in the middle of the desert.
But it said a field, didn't it?
Is a desert not a field?
Is it? Is that considered a field?
It could be. A desert doesn't have to be just like all sand all the time.
Yeah, that's true. But like unopened package.
Or maybe he was starving to death and it was a cake.
Oh, man, that's a very possible solution. It's very dumb.
It's true. It is a very dumb solution. I feel like the coffin one is the most clever one we've come up with so far, but it probably doesn't quite fit the facts.
Yeah.
The car seems the most
The car seems
plausible.
But why would the car be considered a package? An unopened package? That's That's why
Because it's misleading.
yeah, I mean, if the idea is that, like, hey, we just worded this in a misleading, kind of annoying way, congratulations, logic puzzle, you succeeded.
Well, this isn't a logic puzzle. This is a brain teaser. It's more of a riddle.
Oh, it's a brain teaser. Okay.
Because when I looked for logic puzzles, all that came up were those stupid graph ones where you have to match like 3 different sets of items with each other, and you need a piece of paper, and it's boring.
Yeah, see, like, I
Can't do that while
enjoy.
driving.
So I'm a big fan of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and the Sherlock Holmes novels, and I enjoy like them providing all of the information to you that you need to solve the mystery.
I mean, that's essentially what they did here.
Yeah, but I guess this isn't a very good mystery.
It's a very short
It's
mystery.
a very short mystery. So they have provided all the information that we need to solve this.
Yes.
I am curious as to what is the solution, Steve.
All right. I don't know. Let's see. Let's turn on JavaScript because this stupid website won't show you the answer if you don't turn on JavaScript. Dear people who make web browsers, your JavaScript enable and disable button should be accessible within 2 clicks. Seriously, JavaScript is garbage and should be off by default. So
Also,
make it easy to turn on and off.
Only 42 minutes to Louisville.
Just enough time to almost solve one riddle.
Right. And then put in something other than Andrew WK and Spinal Tap.
Failed parachute.
Failed parachute.
Uh,
But wait, why is it considered a package?
a backpack.
Fine.
Oh, I know this one. There are 2 bodies on the floor there, surrounded by water and broken glass. How did they die?
2 bodies on the floor surrounded by water and broken glass.
Yep.
Okay. They're not telling me where this is.
Nope. This guy's about to turn in his lane.
Alright. Let's see. You know what? I just realized I don't care, so tell me.
It's a fishbowl.
It's a fishbowl.
They're fish bodies.
See, I guess, alright, so here's another trick with these logic puzzles.
Yep.
Is you can come up with an alternative answer that works.
It's
Or
true.
these riddles. So I think the problem is the answer that they give isn't like good enough and clear enough to justify something else equally good we came up with. So like the car thing.
Well, that's the trick is I don't think the car thing was equally good.
Okay.
The parachute is next to his body, unlike the car which contained his body. That's the trick with... You'd have much more cause to be upset with one of these questions if the answer they came up with wasn't better than your own.
Right. So
So it's nominally better than our answer. Okay, we'll give it to them. It was Chronicles of Amber addressed this idea that, you know,
I need to read that.
yeah, the main character encounters a sphinx at one point, and the sphinx asks him a
Oh, yeah,
riddle, and he
yeah.
answers, and the riddle says, no, that was the wrong answer, it's this other obscure thing, and the guy's like, my answer was just as right as that, and the sphinx is like, oh, alright, well, how do we solve this? Well, how about I ask you a riddle? And so then he asks what's red and green and goes round and round and round. Frog in a blender, and then runs away before the sphinx figures it out.
You know, I need to read that book. It's been on my to-read list ever since I heard the great Fantastic album Spoiler Alert. And I think it was up for consideration on Book Club. They didn't vote for it.
Oh, those
Yeah,
jerks.
I know. Bummer. I was rooting for His Dark Materials, man. Want to read about a polar bear and killing God.
A sharpshooter hung up his hat and put on a blindfold. Then he walked 100 yards, turned around, and shot a bullet through his hat. The blindfold was a perfectly good one, completely blocking the man's vision. How did he manage this?
Alright, so sorry, I was focusing on the road, so I wasn't really following.
Yeah, I want to make sure we don't die. A sharpshooter hung up his hat and put on a blindfold.
Okay.
Then he walked 100 yards, turned around, and shot a bullet through his hat.
I mean, he walked straight.
The blindfold was a perfectly good one, completely blocking the man's vision. How did he manage this?
Walked in a straight line.
How good of a sharpshooter do you have to be able to walk in a straight line and be able to perfectly draw a bead on a hat 100 yards away?
I don't know.
Tell you what, slight rephrasing of it, a really shitty shooter
All right.
hung up his hat and did this exact same stuff. Just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
All right. So, hung up his hat, walked 100 yards
With a blindfold on.
with a blindfold on, turned around and shot the hat.
Yep.
I don't know. Walked into a wall.
Just walked 100 yards bouncing off a wall every single time. No, he hung the hat on the barrel of the rifle.
Ah, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's the first one where I wasn't annoyed with the answer.
1 is to 3, as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4, and 4 is the magic number. What is the pattern?
Once again, I was driving, making sure we don't die, so can you repeat that?
1 is to 3,
Alright.
3 is to 5, 5 is to 4, and 4 is the magic number. What is the pattern?
Alright.
Probably is mathy.
Yeah, this one's pretty mathy. Alright, so you and I both announced I'm less of a math thinker. I'm more of a
Law thinker.
law thinker.
Law think.
Yes. So I would not be able to do this one without like a piece of paper in front of me and like working it out. This one I will admit I cannot solve in my head while also feeling safe about us driving through mountainous terrain.
Yeah, this one's sort of intriguing me because I don't know this one. It's not intuiting itself to me. F of 1 is 3. F of 3 is 5. F of 5 is 4. 4 is magic.
Alright, so F of 1 is 3.
Correct?
Is it possible to like maybe think about it from the reverse? So 3 equals 1, 5 equals what, 2?
3.
5 equals 3.
4 equals 5.
Yeah, so okay, so it'd be so how does 5 equal 4 and 3?
Well, if you reverse it, it doesn't.
But that's the crux of the puzzle, right?
How does 3 map into 5 in such a way that 5 maps into 4?
Right.
4 is magic.
Yeah, what do they mean by magic? Like, is it a Hufflepuff or a Slytherin?
Oh, I figured it out.
Alright, what is it?
The number of letters in the number's name. 0 NE 1 THREE 5 FIVE 4 FOUR 4.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
it was less mathy than I thought.
Yeah. But also, it's the... You know, I think I might have figured that one out if I wasn't driving.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Of all the ones we've done, I wouldn't have solved any of the other ones. I think I would have gotten that one. But, you know, the podcast listening audience would be like, Greg's dumb. He doesn't know any of these. What a dummy. That here in the middle row.
All right. Our hard rock fan base, like, why is this guy so bad at brain teasers?
Right? Look,
Lateral think, bruh.
lateral think, bro. Alright, so... If Paul Stanley's penis is to love gun, as Gene Simmons' STDs are to burn, bitch, burn, what is Little Caesar?
A pizza.
Yes. We did it!
Yeah.
Alright, let's go see Kiss.
All right, what was the pizza reference on Carnival of Souls, by the way? We didn't find one, did we?
Maybe that's why you didn't like it.
Oh, yeah, there should have been something about Pizza Hut on there.
Yeah, because there was like all these pizza references in a row. And then, let's see. I don't. You have the seat. Pull out the seating. Let's go through the track list. Let's see if any of this is about pizza.
All right. Hold on, I gotta turn off JavaScript again. JavaScript. It's the devil, says the guy who makes his living writing JavaScript.
Hey man, gotta eat when you can, right?
Right? All right.
So listeners, in case you wondered what we do when we just hang out,
This is what we do. It's just we brought along something to record ourselves with that has a higher fidelity than our camera mics.
yeah,
All right, hate,
yeah, probably not about pizza.
rain,
Also probably not about pizza.
master and slave,
I mean, pizza is the master and I am just a slave to it.
childhood's end,
Reflecting on that awesome song from the beginning of the Ninja Turtles VHS, where the kid is like playing baseball and then he goes to Pizza Hut afterwards,
I mean, lots of pizza places are named Papa something.
right?
We'll put a thumbtack in that one.
Yeah, probably not, though. That one's just about suicide. All right.
I will be there.
I will be there, like, at Cece's Pizza. I will be at that pizza place eating the pizza.
And next, jungle.
You know what? There should be, like, a jungle-themed pizza place. That'd be pretty grand. But I don't think that's a thing, so no.
In my head,
All I'm thinking about is pizza.
it never goes away. Pizza goes away fast.
Pizza goes, yeah,
it's terrible.
That's a lie.
Seduction of the Innocent. That song's about Pizzagate, man. QAnon.
All right.
And I just alienated half of our fan base and got us a whole new, more different, terrible fan base.
Right? QAnon's not a thing, guys. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourselves.
I confess.
No. I couldn't even think of a joke. It's not about pizza.
In the mirror.
Also not about pizza.
I walk alone.
I have walked alone many a times to get pizza. But yeah, this is... That's why you hate Carnival of
That's
Souls.
why Carnival of Souls sucks, is they forgot the pizza song. All they needed was just like a song called Papa John or Papa Murph or The Hut.
Yeah. Kiss just...
Or like, yeah, even a song called Cece.
Yeah. Would have been good.
Like, it would have like mostly seemed like it was about some chick named Cece.
Or CC DeVille from
Yeah.
Poison.
Either one of whom might have been touching Paul's dick, but
I think that maybe that's why Poison is such a good band, because CC was like, I want to think about pizza all the time. I'm going to change my name to CC. So when Brett says, pick up that guitar, CC, he's also like doing a pizza reference at the same time.
I mean, when did that particular pizza chain start?
I don't know. I'm just going to pretend that it happened before Poison was a thing.
All right, that's fair.
Probably not, though. I mean, but you know, I don't know. I'm really bad about my history of pizza brands in the United States.
Right?
I think the only one I really remember is like Papa John's. I think he started that in the 60s. Maybe it was the 70s.
I don't know.
I don't remember. The thing is, like, if you started a fast food place in the 60s, you were definitely an asshole.
Yep.
Like, there's no way around it. Like, oh, like, flower power, peace and love. I'm going to start a fast food restaurant and pay my workers as little as possible. Like, if that's what you're choosing to do during the flower power movement, and don't get me wrong, Wendy's is delicious. Please, Wendy's, give us a sponsorship. Your food tastes great. But yeah, there's if you're doing that at the height of like social revolution, almost certainly you're an asshole. Alright, so now that we've alienated all the Wendy's fans, yeah, any other comments?
I'm just racking my brain for other pizza chains.
So what? We got Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars.
Both of the last two, which were already covered.
Any way you slice it was another song about pizza.
That's true.
So, Blaze Pizza.
Oh, that definitely didn't exist.
It definitely didn't exist, but it's delicious. And I think what Kiss needs to do now is they need to record one more album and have a song dedicated to Blaze Pizza.
Right?
Because when I think of the greatest pizza ever, I think of a chain based out of Los Angeles. But also, I mean, for a chain based out of Los Angeles, it's really good. Yeah, alright. I think I'm out of things to say about pizza and these logic puzzles, so this time for real, let's go see Kiss.
All right, for reals this time. Bye. Addendum to the addendum.
Okay, so we forgot about Taco Bell and Mexican pizza.
I mean, they still didn't name a song after it.
Right, but in terms of discussing great pizza places, we left out Taco Bell, which, look, Taco Bell did fries better than anyone else.
I don't know.
They do pizza better than everyone else.
Chicken fries?
Ooh, chicken fries are good. You know, they were referenced in Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Guidance, so they had to be good.
Oh, okay. I think I've had a chicken fry in my life and was like, this is like a nugget, but all bread.
Yes. Etcha chicken fries, I think they're good more in concept than in execution. So, I mean, they're kind of like the elder of fast food items. Like, the idea was really great, but, you know, maybe they didn't nail it.
I don't know if the idea was really good other than as like a marketing gimmick.
I mean, hey, it worked. Think about all the people who got chicken fries. And think about all that free publicity they got from Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Guidance. So for those who aren't aware, Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Guidance is a video game sequel to Space Jam, starring Charles Barkley in a post-apocalyptic future after basketball has been banned because Charles Barkley performed a chaos dunk in New York City that effectively acted as a nuclear explosion. So he dunked so hard, it's basically set off an atomic blast. And,
I would also like to say that I really appreciate that the second time we reference Shut Up and Jam Gaiden on the show is the time we bother to explain what it is.
Right? When was the other time we mentioned it?
I think it might have been in the Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits episode, or the one before that.
It's possible. Did you get those Charles Barkley drops I sent you?
I did, but I haven't put them anywhere yet.
They're pretty great.
They're just sitting on a thumb drive somewhere.
But yeah, if you're looking for, if you're a big fan of old school Japanese role-playing games and like 90s era NBA, like Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden is a must-play. Like, if those are your things, I can't think of a better game, can you?
I guess not, just because I don't really know of any other NBA-themed JRPGs.
Yeah.
I was gonna say NBA Jam, but that's not a JRPG.
Yeah, so we still have not gone to see Kiss yet. We had to talk about Taco Bell Mexican pizza. But listeners, we promise, for real this time, the next segment will absolutely be us talking about Kiss after the show. We promise, for real,
Pinky swear.
pinky swear.
Okay, one more addendum before we go to the show.
All right, what?
No, actually, no. We just
Yeah.
left the show. This is the part that we've been alluding to this entire episode so far. We are on our way home after having just seen Kiss for my first time and Greg's probably last time.
Yeah, and also your probably last time too.
Let's focus on the positive, Greg. You know.
Yeah, so this is my third Kiss concert, and it was pretty good. I'm probably going to rank it the second best of the Kiss shows I've seen.
You mean the one that like changed your life and the one that exceedingly disappointed you?
Yes, it's right in between those
Between
two.
those two. All right, fair enough. It was better.
So where do you rank this in comparison to other Kiss shows you've seen?
It's the best Kiss show I've ever seen.
Also the worst.
It's true. This is the worst Kiss show I've ever seen. I've never seen them less on point.
But also more on point.
Right.
So what'd you think, Steve?
It was pretty fun. There were a couple moments that stuck out to me. I took some notes towards the end just because I was a couple of $11 beers in by the end.
You and the people around us, buddy.
The people. So that's the most important part. Is if I were to describe this show in one word, it would be with the word cougar spotting. Not in the sense of like looking for cougars, but like in the weightlifting sense, in that Greg caught the drunk older woman next to us many times.
And her daughter.
Her daughter was like
early 20s.
Less drunk for much more of the show, but towards the end of the show, Greg had to, basically bodily carry her to the bathroom lest she fall down and die.
Yes. So it's been a while since I've carried a drunk person to the bathroom. Last time I did that was you on your birthday.
It's true.
And I'll tell you this, she's lighter than you, Steve.
Yeah, it's fair.
Much easier to carry.
I was in my house, though, so I feel like it shouldn't have had to carry me as far. If you ever got tired of me, just roll me over on the side, all right, Steve, you're throwing up on your floor now.
Yeah, but I do what I can to prevent drunk people from dying.
I appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure she does too.
Lifelong fan.
And also, dude, you got 3 kisses on the cheek. You basically got engaged in this show.
That's true. That is how that works. If the drunk girl kisses you on the cheek, then you're married to her.
Dude, this is how it works. You go to a Kiss show and you get some. Welcome to Cock Rock, brah.
Woo!
So aside from cougar spotting, how was the show?
It was pretty good. I'm not entirely sure how I missed this until tonight, but Gene Simmons' makeup shtick is definitely like a kabuki thing.
Yes.
I hadn't noticed the way he does his hair is very much like just the big pointy kabuki thing. And I have no idea how I missed that as the sort of person who unironically semi-ironically watched Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD on purpose.
Yeah, and so as far as the cultural appropriation thing, given that Japan loves Kiss, do you give him a pass?
I feel like it's a subtle enough part of his character, and also referencing kabuki theater in the 1970s as an American, that's definitely an obscure and enough part of the culture and enough of a deep cut that that's definitely homage and not appropriation.
Yeah, so there you go. Gene Simmons, culturally sensitive, according to Steve.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call him culturally sensitive.
Culturally sensitive.
I just wouldn't say that he's appropriating Japanese culture.
There you go. Gene Simmons, culture warrior and hero, according to Steve.
Gene Simmons, hero. That's fair enough. Let's see, what else do I have in my notes? Lip syncing. Yes, they were definitely lip syncing. No, not as much as you think they were.
Alright, so explain for the listeners at home.
So, Paul Stanley ran out on stage and immediately began hitting the wrong notes. So, that's not the sort of thing you include in a backing track. You don't say, hold on, we'd better make sure that he hits the right notes so that the folks in Louisville know that he's not lip syncing. So they were doing definitely a combination of various tracks and syncing and and actual live performance. A lot of the notes and pretty much all of the banter were clearly live. There were a couple spots where it was just there were more vocal lines going than there were people next to microphones. And during I Was Made for Loving You, Paul was on a pedestal that was way out in the audience, so we could actually see what he was doing with his hands, and his hands were not playing the chords that the rhythm guitar was doing, but he was also dancing around and looking cool, so I guess that's kind of good. better to be looking cool than not.
I will say what I noticed with the lip syncing, what made me really interested, because I was trying to spot where it was and where it wasn't, and there were certain spots in the show where I thought there was lip syncing, and then there'd be a thing like Paul's guitar strap fell, and then he missed the microphone, and I thought he was lip syncing, but then the vocal stopped. So, that leads me, and like it didn't look like my guitar strap fell as part of the show. It looked like, his guitar strap sincerely fell. And so I feel like more of the show is live than maybe a lot of people are giving it credit for, because little things like that, there's no way the sound guy is paying that close attention to be like,
right.
Oh shoot, his strap fell. I need to hit this button right now so that way people don't think he's lip syncing. Like that is, yes, it's possible to do that, but I doubt they're taking that level of intricacy with it.
Right. Although, in a lot of cases, I wonder how on the ball the sound people were. Because going back to I Was Made for Loving You, the mini pedestal that Paul was out on had two microphones on it on opposite sides. So he's just like, throughout the song, he's pivoting back and forth between these two microphones. So is the sound guy like alternating, muting those microphones so that he's always singing into a live mic and there isn't a live mic just picking up audience noise?
It's possible.
Good on those sound guys, if so. Yeah.
So, overall, how egregious do you think the lip syncing was?
For an arena show, it was probably fine. That's always the problem with arena shows, is once bands start to get to this level, that's more common than not.
Yeah, because it's been a big sticking point that Kiss hasn't done this up until this tour. So every tour before this, there were no lip syncing. So this is the first time they've engaged in it. So what? Paul Stanley's like 73 or something, and finally like, okay, I'll lip sync on this tour. And we had a friend of ours talking about when he went to go see Dolly Parton and was kind of upset that she was lip syncing. And then the friend he was with like, dude, she's in her mid-70s.
Yeah. She's more machine than man at this point.
But I think the fact that there were parts of it that weren't lip synced, like there were definitely like the band live, made me give a little bit more of a pass to the fact that yes, there were some parts where there were tracks.
This septuagenarian couldn't keep up.
But so aside from the lip syncing, how'd you feel about the overall show and performance? Are you obsessed with Kiss now that you've seen them live?
No. I had a good time, but I wouldn't consider myself obsessed.
Did the material click better for you live?
I don't think so. Not particularly. From where we were, to a large extent, the mix was not good. It was pretty muddy where we were sitting, so I guess I'm sort of being nitpicky there, but
okay, so the mix was not as great from our nosebleed seats,
right?
But like overall experience, you'd say was positive?
Oh yeah, I'm glad I went to this. This is the sort of show that I don't regret, shelling out $60 on.
Yeah, it's the kind of show where I think everyone should go to a show like this at least once.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is good enough where, I remember when I was in high school, my mom took me to this really boring Christmas metal show. It was like,
Christmas metal?
Christmas metal.
Okay.
So like dollar store version of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And, I was bored out of my mind and thought it sucked. And, one of the other moms there was like, there's enough rock to keep the kids interested. I'm like, no, there's not. This actually sucks.
Needs more fire.
But I think even for non-Kiss fans, you take them to a Kiss show, they are likely to have a fun time unless they're being like a total grumpy Gil stick in the mud. You take someone with I would say neutral to even slightly negative opinion of Kiss. Take them to a Kiss show, they'll have a good time. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, probably.
Like, obviously, you're going to have, like, the absolute haters, where if you took me to a Nirvana concert, which I know can't happen, but I would be a Grumpy Girls just because of my extreme dislike of the band. But if you took me to, like, a band that I was a little bit more neutral on, like, take me to Limp Bizkit, I'm like, yeah, you know what, whatever. I'm having fun. So
West Borland is selling this for me.
Kiss, Limp Bizkit, same band.
I mean, again, West Borland, yes. So the one song that really stood out to me is, like, I am enjoying this song a lot more live than I had anticipated, was God of Thunder. That effect they did with the three cameras zoomed in on Gene Simmons' face, projected on the bunch of mini screens. I thought that looked really, really good.
Yes, that was a really good production. Sort of what I thought about this, you know, it being nitpicky. I think the production on God of Thunder was so good.
Yeah.
And some of the other songs felt a little bit sparse production-wise, where it was just sort of an empty stage and the band playing. Because the stage was so huge and empty, it felt a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Previous Kiss stages would have, like, a freaking sphinx or, like, platforms for them to walk on. So it definitely felt a little bit sparse in some aspects, but God of Thunder, for example, is one of the coolest visuals they've ever done.
Yeah.
So they trade off, like, sparseness for certain parts of the show for really great parts later in the show. So I'd say overall, I'm happy with the stage.
I would argue that
But I think
the sparseness was not an intentional decision so as to create contrast, except for in a couple rare cases like Beth. I think for the most part, the sparseness was kind of a lack of imagination.
I agree. I completely agree. I think if you gave every song the lushness of the God of Thunder production, I would say it would easily be the best live show of all time.
Right.
And I think that's like with many things with Kiss, they're so close, but like not quite there. But you see like those glimpses of greatness, and I think that's what keeps people coming back. So the thing like that God of Thunder production being one of the best live moments I've ever seen, and it's a song I like. Never been too big on the studio version, but I like the song. It was great live. Also, speaking of great live performances, you missed Calling Dr. Love because you were peeing.
Yep.
And you also missed Gene Simmons blowing the microphone and shoving the entire thing in his mouth.
It's okay. I've seen that before. I saw the extreme metal band Daughters a couple weeks back, and that guy did that for about half the show.
Yeah. So let's see. Lick It Up was a surprising highlight of the show for me. I thought the lights during the section where they played Won't Get Fooled Again.
Yeah.
Which, oh yeah, by the way, surprise.
Surprise they covered Won't Get Fooled Again.
So that's just a thing that Kiss has done since the 80s when they play Lick It Up?
The same song?
Yes.
Okay.
They're like, let's throw in Won't Get Fooled Again. Just a thing that they do, but... most of the time Kiss fans, I've heard, like, complain about the song going on too long. They'd rather hear another song in the set. But I think the lights during that section were spectacular. Just super cool looking.
Yeah.
And for someone who's not a huge Kiss fan, who just, like, experiences that naturally, like, seeing the look on your face was actually pretty awesome. We're like, wait, what? Are they playing The Who right now?
Are they playing that CSI song?
So I think glancing over at Steve, seeing his thoughts throughout the night were fun. They did not play Hide Your Heart, dear listeners, which I really wish they would, because I would love to hear the awkward Paul Stanley stage band to people. You know what's really bad? Gang violence.
Is that how he introduced it?
So in the 80s, I might have to show you a clip of him introducing it, like, on the Hot in the Shade tour, because, like, they're like, it's a party set. Like, this is a song about some friends of ours, Johnny and Rosa, rest in peace. friends of ours that unfortunately got shot.
And then the audience flips out because they heard the word shots.
Right. But like it's you can tell why it's not on the set because it's so out of place. But like here's this like really dramatic Americana narrative about star-crossed lovers dying in brutal gang violence on the streets of LA. All right, now let's do Love Gun. More songs about my dick.
This song's about regular guns, not love guns, the bad kind.
So, in terms of performance, let's go member by member. How did you feel about Paul Stanley, the man, the myth, the legend? How is Paul Stanley as a frontman, live in person with that stage banter?
That stage banter. It was actually pretty good. There was a lot of stage for the band, I think. And, like, the OG members of the band, Paul and Gene... Oh, I guess we're going member by member. Paul's not able to run around as much as he needs to take up as much stage as he should. He did a pretty good job, but he's just not able to take up as much stage as he should be at this point. Gene, sort of the same thing, although he's got the added disadvantage of clearly is wearing the heaviest costume.
Right.
And the new guys, I'm gonna assume they're all named Eric. Obviously, Drum Eric is stuck in the drum kit, so he's just... We unfortunately had seats such that the lighting rig was directly between us and the drums, so we couldn't actually see them pretty much for the entire set. And guitarist Tommy Eric, guitarist,
right,
is clearly sort of doing the hired gun thing, and he's also not just running around and being as obnoxious as possible and drawing attention to himself, because he knows what side his bread is buttered on.
True.
And, I think he could have been more engaging if he'd wanted to.
Right, and also Gene and Paul wanted him to. Because, I think so. Tommy's a bit younger than them. I think he's in his 50s.
Just a bit younger.
In his 50s or 60s.
He's just a young whippersnapper in his 50s.
I don't know how old the guy is. But, so he does have the ability to still run around and stuff, but also he's playing the character originally played by Ace Frehley, the world's laziest guitarist. So Ace was the member of the band who wouldn't move around much on stage. So he has to keep the spaceman persona too, in terms of his playing, his stage movements. And, Tommy is sort of an enigma for me in a lot of ways, where I recognize he's a really great player. And I like the stuff he did before Kiss and his old band, Black and Blue. And, hearing him live, I really appreciate his tonality, his attack. It's a good balance of punch and technicality. But I think that in the context of Kiss, he tends to, be in this box of the Kiss guitarist. And I really want a more creative side of his playing to come out, because at this point he's become much more seasoned as a player, and has much more tricks in his bag than he is able to show in the context of Kiss. And I wish that the band, we'll get to this when we get to their latter day albums, had allowed some of his musical creativity to leap into the songwriting and arrangement. Just because I see potential for something that could be really awesome, and instead is pretty good, but not really awesome like I want it to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the singular moment in the show that really outlined how much he could have taken it to 11 and didn't was during the guitar solo. So the guitar solo is he plays for a bit, and then he hits a button on his guitar and it shoots out a flare, and then the pyro guys set off a firework basically opposite from where he shot the flare. So he shoots the flare up, and then where the flare was headed on the ceiling shoots down another flare and sets off the effect. So he does that, first of all, on stage right, so that his guitar is sticking to the left, pointing to the left across stage, fires off the flare. Then he, solos for a bit and wanders across the stage, and then turns and faces the back of the stage, so that his guitar is facing cross stage again, so that when he fires off the flare, the opposite flare can go off. And as he was crossing the stage, having seen how they blocked things out, I was like, okay, the best way for them to resolve this is for him to, hit a big note and swing the guitar up over his shoulder so that it's pointing cross stage so he can fire off the flare and have that effect go off again. But instead he did the much simpler, tamer,
Probably safer, because that's a big part of it.
I mean, I feel like those flares probably weren't super flammable. His flare was probably not much of anything at all. And just and if he practiced, he could point that safely. But yes, it was the safer option in a number of ways. Safer both logistically and safer artistically. And I would have liked to see the less safe option.
I think I have no problem with the blocking of the solo section, but I think your statement about how you wish there was a bit more melody to the solo,
yeah,
or a bit more shredding and just insanity to the solo.
Yeah, he played like he was shredding, but he didn't actually shred.
Right, which I get, because they're trying to have Eric and Tommy play in this box of the classic Kiss era, because they're selling you the original 4 makeup designs, and so it's supposed to evoke classic Kiss. And so they're trying not to go too outside of the box that is classic Kiss. That's why they're not playing, the thrashier 80s songs in the set.
Right.
So I think, Tommy can play something much more melodic. He can compose a great solo, and he can shred way more than that. I think it's an effect of him trying to fit in the Kiss box, which is my main complaint with the last 2 Kiss albums when we get to them. But also, fun fact about Tommy is that he appears on a good chunk of Psycho Circus, and that he was the main studio guitarist on that album. So basically, you're going to get familiar with his playing on Psycho Circus.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! So, overall, you had fun?
Yeah, it was good. I got a couple other notes. Speaking of pyrotechnics, so there didn't necessarily seem to be a direct correlation between fireworks going off on stage and the sound of fireworks, which raises the question of how did they do the sound of fireworks? It seemed like it probably wasn't a
So you're saying the fireworks tracks were fireworks synced?
Well, that's my question, is how, what is the best way to do that? Is it, would it be to just have a series of fireworks samples that they set off over the PA? Or do they have some kind of fireworks sound can that they can trigger? So they can set off an explosion, and then they can set off a noise half a second later.
Look, sampling vocals is fine, but sampling fireworks? Where's your integrity, Kiss?
Well, the way things were mixed, if they were using fireworks samples, the fireworks samplers were way louder than the mix, which would seem correct, but it would seem strange if they were able to get the volume of the PA to the level that the fireworks were at.
That's true.
Why wouldn't they have just done that?
I mean, it's possible
cranked
that
everything up.
There might have just been some duds, because I think there was a point where we heard a firework sound but didn't see a firework. I think it might be the case that just some of them didn't go off properly.
Yeah. So that's the question: is do they have devices backstage that make a loud firework sound, or do they have tracks?
Well, what if it's the firework made the sound but didn't make the explosion? Is that a possibility?
That's not really from a physics standpoint.
Okay, so man, Kiss
it would be super weird to engineer something that makes a sound and an explosion separately and have them be the same device rather than have 2 separate devices or a single device that does both. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So what were your other notes?
Woodblock.
Oh yes, woodblock.
Drum Eric loves woodblock.
Yeah, it's pretty great. We just kept shouting for more woodblock.
More woodblock! Woodblock solo!
Any other notes?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have to say. Now we're gonna drive on home, listen to some tunes. Steve's probably gonna fall asleep.
I got work tomorrow.
Yeah, he has work tomorrow. I took the day off. Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
Lipstickgeneration.com.
All right. Well, that's our episode. Bye, internet.
Bye.
Oh wait, turn it back on.
I haven't actually stopped it successfully. I couldn't find the button.
All right. So the one more thing, forgot to mention this on the podcast, but as I was helping our friend to get to the restroom, you know,
Our besotted friend.
got her into the restroom. Checked my phone just while I was hanging outside the restroom because she asked me to help her get back to the seat. I'm like, sure, why not? So I look and I have a notification from YouTube. We have a comment on our Smashing Pumpkins Gish episode.
I don't have the chair drop, unfortunately, because I'm in the car.
It just says, this Greg guy is really annoying. And you know what?
They're not wrong.
Yes, but, you know, as I'm listening to Beth helping this drunk girl get to the restroom and hearing some guy on the internet complain about my opinion about Smashing Pumpkins, I felt really good about my position in life.
I have made some life choices.
I have made life choices, all thanks to Kiss. Okay, bye.
Bye, Internet.